Have you ever walked into your kitchen and felt like it was working against you instead of with you? Maybe the counters feel too crowded, the drawers seem to have a mind of their own, or you find yourself bending and reaching a little more than you'd like. For many of us, especially as the years go by, the kitchen can either be a place of comfort and ease or a place that quietly drains our energy and even puts us at risk. That's exactly why I want to spend a little time with you today talking about how to keep your kitchen both minimal and safe. You see, a kitchen doesn't have to be filled with endless gadgets, piles of dishes, or hidden hazards to serve you well. In fact, the more you simplify and organize it, the safer and more enjoyable it becomes. And the truth is, at our stage of life, safety and simplicity go hand in hand. We've earned the right to live in a home that feels like it's working with us, not against us. So in this video, I want to share 3 practical tips that can help transform your kitchen into a space that's easier to use, easier to enjoy, and much safer for you. These aren't complicated ideas, and you don't need to spend a fortune to make them work. They're about small changes that can create a big difference in your daily life. Let's begin with something simple but incredibly powerful: clearing the clutter. Now, I don't mean you need to strip your kitchen bare or live with just one fork and one plate. What I'm talking about is removing the extra things that you don't actually use anymore. For example, do you really need 3 sets of mixing bowls? Or do you find yourself reaching for the same one every time? Are those old mugs stacked at the back of the cupboard actually being used? Or are they just taking up space and making it harder to find the ones you love? The reason clutter is more than just an eyesore is because it slows us down and creates little risks we don't always notice. A crowded cupboard can lead to something falling on your hand or foot. A packed drawer can cause you to fumble when you're reaching for a knife or a peeler. Even small inconveniences like that add up over time, especially if your balance or grip isn't quite as steady as it once was. Here's what I suggest. Take one cupboard, just one, and open it up. Pull everything out and ask yourself, when was the last time I used this? If it's been over a year, or if it's something you keep thinking you'll use but never do, consider letting it go. Donate it, pass it along to a family member, or recycle it if it's no longer in good shape. The point isn't to throw away everything, but to create space so that the items you do use are easy to see, easy to reach, and safe to handle. I'll share a quick story with you. A friend of mine, Marie, used to keep a big stack of heavy glass serving dishes in the cupboard above her stove. They'd been there for years, untouched, because she always ended up using the same 2 platters whenever the family came over. One day, she tried to pull one down, lost her grip, and it slipped right onto the counter. Thankfully, it didn't shatter on her foot, but it was enough of a scare to make her rethink what she actually needed. She ended up keeping 2 and passing the rest on to her kids, who were thrilled to have them. Now, that cupboard is light and easy to use, and she no longer worries about things tumbling out on her. Once you start clearing clutter in small steps, you'll be amazed at how much lighter and calmer your kitchen feels. And best of all, you won't be digging through piles just to find your favorite frying pan. Now, once the clutter is under control, the next step is to think about accessibility. A kitchen is only as safe as it is easy to use. If you're constantly bending low, stretching high, or reaching deep into the back of a shelf, you're not just making things harder, you may also be increasing your chances of a fall or a pulled muscle. A good rule of thumb is this: the things you use most often should live where your arms can comfortably reach without effort. That usually means between your shoulders and your knees. For example, if you drink from the same mug every morning, keep it on the first shelf of your cupboard instead of way up top. If you cook with a frying pan 3 times a week, store it at waist height rather than in a heavy stack at the very bottom. And don't underestimate the power of simple tools like shelf risers, pull-out trays, or lazy Susans. These little helpers can make it much easier to see and grab what you need without twisting your back or crouching down low. Think of them as small investments in your comfort and safety. I know some people worry that organizing this way will take too much time or effort, but the truth is, it often makes life easier almost immediately. One gentleman I know, Robert, used to keep his spices all in one deep drawer. He'd bend down, shuffle around, and sometimes even forget what he had, so he'd buy duplicates. One day, his daughter gave him a simple rotating spice rack to put on the counter. Suddenly, all his seasonings were right at eye level, easy to see, easy to reach. Not only did it save his back, but he stopped wasting money buying things he already owned. Accessibility is about giving yourself permission to make your kitchen work for you, not the other way around. As we grow older, we don't need to prove that we can still reach the highest shelf or lift the heaviest pot. What we need is a space that respects our bodies as they are now, making cooking and eating not just safe, but enjoyable again. And speaking of pots and pans, another small but important part of accessibility is paying attention to weight. If you have heavy cast iron skillets or oversized soup pots, ask yourself whether they're really serving you anymore. There are wonderful lightweight options available these days that can be just as effective without straining your wrists or back. Choosing tools that are easier to handle is not giving up its smart. It's choosing to protect your independence by preventing accidents before they happen. So, when we talk about creating a kitchen that's both minimal and safe, it begins with 2 steps. Clearing the clutter so your space feels open and manageable, and making sure that everything you use most often is placed where you can access it comfortably and safely. These 2 changes alone can transform your kitchen into a place where you feel confident and at ease every time you step inside. Now that you've made more space and set things up where you can easily reach them, let's talk about another key piece of keeping your kitchen both minimal and safe: creating clear pathways and surfaces. This one might sound simple at first, but it makes an incredible difference not just in how your kitchen looks, but in how you move and feel when you're in it. Think for a moment about your kitchen counters. Are they covered with appliances, utensils, or papers? Maybe there's a toaster squeezed between a stack of bowls and a roll of paper towels, or the microwave shares space with a slow cooker that only gets used at Christmas. If your counters feel more like storage shelves than working surfaces, you're not alone. Most of us gradually fill up our counters without realizing it. But here's the problem. Cluttered surfaces don't just make cooking harder, they also increase the risk of spills, accidents, and even fires. One woman I spoke to, Helen, told me how she used to keep her coffee maker, blender, toaster oven, and air fryer all lined up on the counter. It looked fine at first, but she noticed she had almost no space left for chopping vegetables or setting down a hot pan. She ended up balancing cutting boards over the sink, and one day, while juggling a hot pot, she nearly tipped it over because there simply wasn't enough room. After that close call, she decided to store away the appliances she didn't use every day, and suddenly, her kitchen felt calmer and safer. That's the beauty of clear surfaces. They give you room to breathe and move. And it doesn't mean you need to get rid of everything, it just means choosing what stays out. For example, if you drink coffee every morning, of course keep your coffee maker handy. But if you only pull out the blender once a week for smoothies, it's probably better stored in a cupboard or pantry until you need it. The same goes for paperwork or mail that tends to pile up on the counter. It might not seem like a big deal, but stacks of envelopes or newspapers can quickly become fire hazards if they're too close to the stove. They can also create a lot of visual clutter, making the kitchen feel busier and more stressful than it needs to. Setting up a small basket or designated spot outside the kitchen for incoming mail can keep your counters clear and your cooking space safer. Beyond the counters, another overlooked safety factor is the floor. A kitchen floor can either support you or trip you up, depending on how you manage it. Rugs, for instance, can be charming and cozy, but they can also be slippery or catch the edge of your shoe. I know many people who've had close calls with a rug sliding out from under them while carrying a plate of food. If you love having a mat by the sink or stove, make sure it's one with a non-slip backing or add a grip pad underneath so it stays firmly in place. And then there's the matter of spills. A tiny splash of water or oil might not seem like much, but it can turn into a dangerous slip in seconds. The best habit you can build is wiping up spills right away, even if you're in the middle of cooking. Keeping a towel or paper towel within easy reach makes it simple to catch accidents before they become hazards. Remember, prevention is always easier than recovery, and a quick wipe now could save you from a painful fall later. Lighting also plays a bigger role in safety than many of us realize. Our eyes change as we age, and what once looked like a bright kitchen can start to feel dim without us noticing. Poor lighting makes it harder to see spills on the floor, sharp edges on the counter, or even the dials on the stove. That's why upgrading your lighting is such a practical step toward both safety and simplicity. It doesn't need to be fancy. Something as small as adding a stick-on LED light under a cabinet or swapping out a low-watt bulb for a brighter one can completely change how safe the space feels. One gentleman, Tom, shared with me that he used to struggle chopping vegetables at night because the light over his counter was too weak. He would squint, tilt his head, and try to get the right angle just to see clearly. His daughter gave him a set of battery-powered under-cabinet lights, and suddenly the task that once felt frustrating and risky became enjoyable again. That's the power of good lighting. It gives you confidence and ease in everything you do. So when you think about creating safe pathways and surfaces in your kitchen, ask yourself, are my counters clear enough for me to move with ease? Is my floor free of tripping hazards like rugs or spills? And can I see clearly in all the areas where I prepare food? Answering these questions honestly and making small adjustments where needed can completely transform how you experience your kitchen day to day. Now, let's not forget that safety and minimalism aren't just about removing things. They're also about setting up your space so it feels welcoming and peaceful. A minimal kitchen doesn't have to feel empty or cold. It can feel warm and inviting, filled with only the things that truly support you. When you clear the counters and open up the space, you make room for what matters most, enjoying the process of cooking, sharing meals with loved ones, and feeling at ease in your own home. I'd encourage you to try a little experiment. Tonight, before you go to bed, take just 5 minutes to clear one counter. Put away anything that doesn't absolutely need to be there. When you walk into your kitchen tomorrow morning, notice how it feels. For many people, that single change creates a sense of calm they didn't even realize was missing. And when your mind feels calm, you naturally move more carefully, cook more joyfully, and spend less time searching or worrying. So far, we've talked about decluttering, accessibility, and now creating clear and safe pathways and surfaces. Together, these changes start to build a kitchen that day. By now, you can probably already imagine your kitchen feeling lighter, more open, and far easier to move around in. You've cleared out the clutter, made your essentials accessible, and opened up your counters and pathways so you can cook and move with confidence. The final piece of this puzzle ties everything together, and that's safety in the small details. Sometimes, it's the little things we overlook that cause the biggest problems. Think about cords, for example. So many kitchens have appliances with cords stretched across counters or dangling near the stove. These cords can easily catch on a sleeve, get snagged by a passing hand, or even fall into a burner. Taking a moment to organize and secure cords by using simple cord clips, shortening devices, or even just tucking them neatly away removes that hidden hazard instantly. Another detail worth looking at is the way you store cleaning supplies. Many of us grew up with sprays, powders, and bottles tucked under the sink. While that works, it can also mean bending down low, juggling bottles, or reaching into a dark, cramped space. Not only is this uncomfortable, but it also increases the risk of grabbing the wrong product or spilling something that could be harmful. A safer approach is to keep only the essentials in that space, and perhaps move them into easy-to-handle baskets. Some people even choose to store their most used items in a small caddy, which they can pull out and carry to where they need it, then put back neatly. It's one of those little shifts that makes the kitchen both safer and more practical. And we can't talk about small details without mentioning fire safety. The kitchen is, after all, the one room in the house where fire risks are most common. Having a small fire extinguisher with an easy reach one you know how to use can be a literal lifesaver. It doesn't need to take up much space, and it's one of those items you hope you'll never use, but will be profoundly grateful for if you ever need it. Alongside that, keeping a working smoke detector close to the kitchen is essential. These are small investments that give you peace of mind every time you turn on the stove. Speaking of the stove, think about your habits there. Do you keep oven mitts close by, or do you find yourself reaching across the kitchen when something's hot? Do your pot handles face inward when you're cooking, or do they stick out where they could easily be bumped? These are such small details, yet they make an enormous difference in preventing burns and accidents. Sometimes, staying safe isn't about a dramatic change, it's about practicing a little more mindfulness in the routines we already have. Now, one last layer to consider when we talk about a minimal and safe kitchen is the emotional side. Because here's the truth, our kitchens aren't just functional spaces. They're places where we gather, cook for loved ones, and carry memories of family, meals, and traditions. Letting go of clutter or heavy cookware isn't just a physical act, it can also feel emotional, especially if those items carry memories. I want you to know that it's okay to feel a little tug when you donate the old casserole dish your mother gave you or the bread machine you used when the kids were small. Those items served you well, and the memories connected to them don't disappear just because the object is no longer there. In fact, by choosing to keep only what you truly use and love, you make room to enjoy the present moment more fully. You make space for new memories, new meals, and new joys in the years ahead. One couple I know shared how they finally gave away a huge set of china they hadn't used in over 20 years. At first, it was hard. They remembered every holiday dinner served on those plates. But once they passed them on to their granddaughter, who was thrilled to use them for her growing family, they realized the gift wasn't just in the dishes themselves, but in the stories and traditions being carried forward. Their kitchen, once heavy with storage, now felt lighter, and their hearts felt lighter too. That's the beauty of a minimal kitchen. It allows you to live more fully in the now, without being weighed down by the excess of the past. And when you pair that with the safety adjustments we've been talking about, you create a space that doesn't just look good, it actively supports your well-being and independence. So let's bring it all together. A kitchen that's both minimal and safe isn't about stripping away joy or beauty. It's about surrounding yourself with the things you truly use, making them easy and safe to reach, clearing your surfaces and pathways so you can move with ease, and paying attention to the small details that protect you from accidents. These aren't grand renovations, they're thoughtful, manageable steps that anyone can take. And the result is a kitchen that feels calm, functional, and safe, a place you genuinely enjoy spending time in. Remember, the goal here is not perfection, it's progress. Every small change you make adds up. Each dish you donate, each cord you tidy, each spill you wipe immediately, these are acts of care, not just for your kitchen, but for yourself. You're choosing to protect your health, your independence, and your peace of mind. So the next time you walk into your kitchen, ask yourself, does this space feel like it supports me, or does it slow me down? If the answer is the latter, take heart. You now have the tools to shift it step by step into a place that feels lighter, safer, and more joyful. And before we end, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small change you've made in your kitchen that's made a big difference in your daily life? Share it in the comments. I know your ideas will inspire others too. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more practical, uplifting tips to make life after 60 simpler, safer, and more fulfilling. Here's to kitchens that support us, not challenge us. Here's to homes that feel lighter, safer, and full of joy. And most of all, here's to living your best life at any age. You know, one of the most surprising things I've noticed when talking with friends and neighbors about simplifying their kitchens is how much relief they feel afterward. At first, the idea of letting go of things or making changes feels a little overwhelming. But once they take those small steps, clearing the counters, moving their essentials to a better spot, or letting go of heavy pans they don't use anymore, they almost always say the same thing. Why didn't I do this sooner? And that's really the heart of what we're talking about here. A minimal, safe kitchen isn't just about the physical space, it's about how you feel when you walk into that space every day. Does it welcome you? Does it make you feel steady and calm? Or does it quietly add stress and risk to your life? I remember visiting my aunt after she made some big changes in her kitchen. She'd recently had a scare. She tripped over a rug while carrying a bowl of soup, and while she didn't hurt herself badly, it shook her confidence. She told me she realized in that moment that her kitchen wasn't working for her anymore. It was working against her. So she took action. She cleared out half her cupboards, got rid of the rug, and bought a lightweight set of pots. When I came over afterward, she gave me a tour like it was a brand new house. "Look at this," she said, proudly pointing to her tidy counters and organized shelves. "I feel like I can breathe in here again." And you know what? She cooked more often, too, because the space felt easy instead of overwhelming. That's the ripple effect of a safe, minimal kitchen. It doesn't just prevent accidents, it invites joy back into cooking and gathering. Think about it. When you're not worried about tripping, straining, or searching for something buried at the back of a cabinet, you're free to actually enjoy the moment. And food always tastes better when it's made in a space that feels calm. I also want to touch on something important here: independence. For many of us, as we get older, one of our biggest fears is losing the ability to take care of ourselves. The kitchen plays a huge role in that. Cooking, preparing meals, and even just making a cup of tea, these daily actions are what keep us feeling capable and connected to our lives. By making your kitchen safer and easier to use, you're not just preventing slips and falls, you're protecting your independence. You're giving yourself the best chance to keep enjoying your home on your own terms for as long as possible. And if you live with a partner or share your kitchen with family, these changes benefit them too. A clear, organized, and well-lit kitchen helps everyone move around more smoothly. It sets the tone for shared meals, laughter, and memories. I've seen couples argue less about where things are or who last used the frying pan simply because they finally created a space where everything had its place. That's the hidden gift of minimalism. It reduces friction, not just in the room, but in our relationships. Now, maybe you're thinking, this all sounds good, but where do I start? The truth is, you don't need to tackle everything at once. Start small, and let each small change encourage the next. Maybe tonight you take that one rug that's been slipping around and roll it up. Tomorrow, you might move your favorite pan to a more accessible spot. Next week, maybe you go through the drawer of utensils and keep only the ones you actually use. Each step is simple, and together they add up to a kitchen that feels transformed. And here's something else to keep in mind. Safety and simplicity don't mean boring. You can absolutely keep your kitchen cozy, colorful, and full of personality. Display the mugs that make you smile. Hang a cheerful calendar on the wall. Keep a vase of fresh flowers on the table if you like. The point isn't to strip away joy, but to strip away the excess that makes joy harder to see. A minimal kitchen isn't empty, it's intentional. It highlights what matters most. So take a moment and picture your ideal kitchen. Is it calm and uncluttered, with plenty of space to move? Is it filled with just the right tools, all within easy reach? Is it bright, welcoming, and safe enough that you feel confident cooking anytime? That vision isn't just a dream, it's within your reach. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a remodel to get there. With small, thoughtful steps, you can create that feeling in the kitchen you already have. Let me leave you with this thought. Every meal you prepare, every cup of tea you make, every dish you wash, it all happens in your kitchen. That's a lot of time, a lot of life spent in that space. Why not make it a place that truly supports you? A place that reflects not just your needs, but your values of love, of simplicity, safety, and the freedom to live fully at any age. If you're nodding along, I encourage you to take action today. Even one small change can start a chain reaction that makes your kitchen feel brand new. And when you do, I'd love to hear about it. Share your story in the comments, not just what you changed, but how it made you feel. Those personal experiences are what inspire others most, and I know someone out there will need to hear your idea. So let's commit to this together. Let's choose kitchens that make us feel safe, light, and joyful. Let's choose homes that support our independence and give us peace of mind. And above all, let's choose to live in spaces that reflect the freedom and wisdom we've earned. Because at this stage of life, we deserve nothing less. Here's to safety, simplicity, and the everyday joy of a kitchen that works for you.